people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, and now it's time for our weekend picks. First up, Ramla Ali, unbeaten Ramla Ali.
Boxer, model, philanthropist.
She wears a lot of hats, and on the undercard of Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk 2, she's going to be taking on the Dominican Republic's own Crystal Garcia Nova.
Sports professional record of 10 wins, 2 losses with no draws.
10 knockouts. Every fight that Crystal Garcia Nova has won, she has won by way of knockout, though it's important to note that these are pedestrian-level opponents we're talking about. These are pedestrian-level fighters.
Not fighters with the kind of amateur background that Ramla Ali has. Not fighters with the kind of ceiling that Ramla Ali has.
Ramla Ali, who sports a professional record of 6 wins, no losses, and no draws with 1 knockout. Ramla, she's not a puncher, not a big puncher.
At least not yet. She hasn't proven to be a big puncher, though there's still time. It's still early in her career.
Ramla is one of these amateur standouts that had to make a conscious effort from transitioning from an amateur style to a pro style and more effectively delivering her power shots, delivering her power and showing some spite, showing a bit of a mean streak, and she's been doing that fight by fight, though her bread and butter really is her boxing. To the eye, she has much, much better form than Crystal Garcia Nova.
That's why they picked her.
Crystal Nova's coming off that loss to Bauderlique, a Thailand-born, German-based fighter.
A well-put-together fighter, I might add.
And we're going to talk about Bauderlique in another video. We're going to talk about Faye for now. What you immediately notice about Crystal Garcia Nova...
punches aren't defensible.
Her punches aren't defensible. She shoots that jab, and it's a bit of a lazy jab. It's not a defensible jab, but it's supposed to be.
Ideally, you're supposed to shoot that jab and get that hand back fast enough to that side of your face to protect it.
Whereas Crystal Nova's jab is a jab that can easily be countered over the top after she shoots it.
Because it's not defensible. Because it's a lazy jab, not a proper jab.
Given Crystal Garcia Nova's physical dimensions, the fact that she's actually very big for super bantamweight, standing in at about 5'9", she probably does pack a decent punch if she can land it, but therein lies the dilemma. Therein lies the problem.
Punches are a bit wide, they're not defensible, and they can be countered.
This was put on full display in Crystal Garcia Nova's last fight with Hrgovic, who gave her all she could handle and capitalized off many countering opportunities.
After 5 rounds with Faye, Crystal Garcia Nova retired in her corner.
The pressure from Faye in that fight was a lot more consistent than what you see from Ramla Ali. Ramla Ali is more likely to box from the outside, pick her shots, pick her spots, and take her time. So I don't know that Ramla Ali can take out Crystal Garcia Nova as easily or as quickly as Faye did, though a knockout is possible because, I reiterate, Crystal Garcia Nova has leaky defense.
Her punches aren't particularly defensible, and she's there to be countered.
She's there to be hit. She is a particularly big target at super bantamweight, standing in at about 5'9". That's big for the weight, but she doesn't know how to use it, doesn't know how to use those long levers, that height and that reach.
She's got tools, she just doesn't know how to use them.
There is some history being made when it comes to this fight, as Ramla Ali will be the first woman boxer to box in Jeddah, in Saudi Arabia. Given the size and scale of this card and the occasion, the fact that Ramla Ali is set to make history in her own way, it's conceivable that she's going to want to win, not just win, but win big.
She might try to force a referee stoppage because she's been showing a lot of spite fight by fight.
Showing more moxie, showing more mean streak after enlisting the aid of veteran trainer Manny Robles, and she has been looking the part. Given the defensive deficiencies from Crystal Garcia Nova, it's conceivable that maybe Ramla goes in there and she forces a stoppage. Maybe in 6 or 7 rounds, this being billed as an 8-rounder in the super bantamweight division. The logical choice here is Ramla Ali.
Conservatively, you could go with Ramla Ali on points, but
I'm going to be a little bit more ballsy, and I'm going to say that Ramla's going to go for the knockout. She's going to push for the stoppage. She didn't land on Crystal Garcia Nova by accident. There are a lot of defensive defensive deficiencies there, a lot of holes that can be exploited, and Ramla Ali is a crafty boxer with long levers of her own and accuracy and good punch placement.
The work's a lot more neat and a lot more tidy from Ramla.
If she starts putting punches together, she can perhaps force a referee stoppage. Ramla Ali by way of knockout is my prediction for this weekend's Super Bantamweight contest. We then come to tomorrow's light heavyweight contest on that same undercard between the former WBA and Ring Magazine super middleweight champion Callum Smith, now campaigning as a light heavyweight, and Olympic bronze medalist who represented France, Mathieu Bauderlique. Callum is an orthodox fighter. Mathieu is a southpaw.
Callum sports a professional record of 28 wins with 1 loss, no draws.
20 knockouts to Mathieu Bauderlique, who sports a professional record of 21 wins and 1 loss with no draws.
12 knockouts. It's safe to say that Callum Smith is the bigger puncher.
Even though Mathieu Bauderlique has campaigned at this weight longer than Callum Smith has. Both boys have been out of action since September of last year. In that way, it's been close to a year's time since either man fought.
Now, I don't know why it's taken so long to get Callum Smith a fight, being honest.
That highlight reel knockout over Lenin Castillo, the very statuesque and durable, experienced Lenin Castillo,
That was a sensational knockout. He hit the guy so fucking hard when he hit the deck he started seizing.
Lenin Castillo's been in there with the likes of Dimitri Bivol, Marcus Brown. Dropped a decision to both of those fighters.
They're good fighters, but none of them did to Lenin Castillo what Callum Smith did to Lenin Castillo. It's safe to say that
Callum packs a big punch at light heavyweight.
and this is a much better weight for him than super middleweight. I personally think he was killing himself to make that weight. At this weight,
He's likely not leaving it all in the gym. He's bringing some of what he's got to the fight under the hot lights. I favor him to beat Mathieu Bauderlique. Mathieu Bauderlique, an Olympian, a southpaw. Nothing really jumps out at the screen at you when it comes to this guy. Good feet.
good jab.
Good fundamentals. Good dimensions for the weight. He's good, but that's it. That's just it. He's good. Just good. He's a solid little fighter.
Semi-solid. I don't think he takes the best punch.
I don't. Both Mathieu Bauderlique and Callum Smith, they both have 1 recorded loss on their records. The difference is Callum Smith's recorded loss is to pound-for-pound king Canelo Alvarez. He dropped a decision, a lopsided decision, to Canelo Alvarez, but he
But he did go the distance. He did finish the fight on his feet. He didn't quit like Billy Joe Saunders, and he didn't get stopped like Caleb Plant.
He's durable. I'd wager he's even more durable now that he's not killing himself to make super middleweight. At light heavyweight, he's that much better.
Whereas Mathieu Bauderlique, he was stopped by Dragan Lepay.
The hell is Dragan Lepay?
Exactly.
About 3 or 4 years ago, 2017, Dragan Lepay stopped Mathieu Bauderlique in the first round, the very first round of their light heavyweight contest, that light heavyweight match. And I'd wager that if Callum Smith can plant that right hand on Mathieu, the same way he planted it on Lenin Castillo, Mathieu's going to go out. Mathieu's going to hit the deck.
With Buddy McGirt in his corner, I'm confident that Callum Smith can stop Mathieu Bauderlique.
Experience has to go to the former champion. Experience, the edge in it, has to go to Callum Smith.
He's fought better fighters, much better fighters than Mathieu Bauderlique has.
George Groves, John Ryder.
Canelo Alvarez.
Whereas best guy Mathieu Bauderlique has shared the ring with, I think, would have to be Igor Mikhalkin. Russian journeyman Igor Mikhalkin. He has fought a lot of people, a lot of good people, hasn't beat very many of them.
Though I could say the same thing about Lenin Castillo, who Callum Smith last fought.
There is a glaring difference, however, in what Callum Smith did to Lenin and what Mathieu did to Igor Mikhalkin. After 7 rounds, Igor Mikhalkin retired in a stool, retired in his corner, whereas Callum Smith
Took Mathieu Bauderlique 7 rounds to get Igor Mikhalkin out of there.
only took Callum 2 rounds to get Lenin Castillo out of there.
In particularly violent fashion.
For my money, Callum Smith is the more experienced fighter, the former champion, the harder puncher as well, and the slightly taller fighter with the longer levers. Mathieu Bauderlique being a southpaw, leading with his right hand in order to set up his left, he is susceptible to the straight right hand.
Callum Smith's straight right hand, and that's the same right hand he knocked out Lenin Castillo with.
Mathieu Bauderlique seems to be a mid-range to outside guy. His best punches are his straight punches. However, sharing the ring with Callum Smith, who's got a little bit of height, a little bit of reach on this guy.
Callum Smith's best punches are his straight punches.
The difference is there's more on Callum Smith's punches, and he doesn't have to be as close to Mathieu to deliver them. If you want to fluster a guy like Callum Smith, that kind of length, that kind of power, those physical dimensions, you have to get mid-range to inside on him. You have to crowd him the same way that John Ryder crowded him. And that's not Mathieu Bauderlique's calling card. That's not the kind of kind of fighter he is.
It's not what he does. I see a situation where Callum's going to land that right hand and he's going to get this guy out of there.
Yeah. My prediction is Callum Smith by way of knockout, and it could happen early. It could happen before the midway point. This is a considerable step up in class for Matthew Bauderlique, who, even though he's an Olympian, he's been somewhat unremarkable.
Callum Smith by way of knockout is the pick.
Particulars in association with the match is that it is a WBC final eliminator geared towards crowning a mandatory challenger for Artur Beterbiev, as is this fight, this upcoming heavyweight contest between unbeaten Philippe Hrgovic and unbeaten Zhang. That's a final eliminator as well. A final eliminator by way of the IBF, geared towards crowning
a mandatory challenger for the winner of Joshua versus Usyk 2.
The last mandatory that was satisfied for the IBF was Kubrat Pulev, back when Anthony Joshua knocked that guy out. That was a little over a year ago.
That was the last mandatory challenger that was satisfied. The winner of this fight will be the next.
This fight that, much like the Callum Smith versus Matthew Bauderlique fight, pits an orthodox fighter against the southpaw, Philippe Hrgovic, the Croatian sensation, the orthodox fighter versus Zhang, the ambitious, albeit somewhat long in the tooth, southpaw.
Zhang sports a professional record of 24 wins, no losses with 1 draw.
19 knockouts to Philippe Hrgovic, who sports a professional record of 14 wins, no losses, no draws, 12 knockouts. To the eye, I'd have to say that Philippe Hrgovic may very well be the more heavy-handed puncher, though at heavyweight, you really are just one punch away from being knocked out by almost anybody.
Very ambitious Zhang has won his last 2 fights by way of knockout or technical knockout, more recently stopping Scott Alexander in just 1 round.
And maybe the 39-year-old Zhang can make things interesting in the first round or the first 2, but it's only a matter of time before he gets stopped. I mean, this ain't the kind of prediction I had to think long and hard about. The fight's outcome.
I don't think we're going to have to think long and hard about that either. I don't think it's going to leave us with much to reflect upon.
Philippe Hrgovic is about 9 years younger than Zhang, and he is the betting favorite.
Rightfully so. Look at how many guys in the IBF's ranks didn't want nothing to do with him.
Credit to Zhang for being the only guy with the gusto and the moxie to step up to the plate and take on Philippe Hrgovic. Perhaps what Zhang figured is that he's not getting any younger, and on the other side of this fight is everything he wants. Everything he wants out of his career. The winner of the fight comes that much closer to fighting for a title shot. And
perhaps that's what coaxed them to do this, because they went down those rank standings at least 2 times, and nobody wanted to fight Philippe.
For a second there, it looked like Tony Yoka was going to take on Philippe Hrgovic, but he got pulled back into that Martin Bacoli situation, and we all know how that worked out. In any event, Zhang was one guy who didn't shy away from this fight, didn't shy away from this challenge, but
well, listen, credit to him for stepping up to the plate.
He deserves it, but tomorrow, on the undercard of Joshua versus Usyk 2, I think Zhang, I think he's going to get splattered. I think he's going to get knocked out. I think he's going to find out firsthand why none of those other guys in the IBF's ranks wanted anything to do with Philippe Hrgovic. Philippe Hrgovic, by way of knockout, is the pick. And finally, we come to the main event of that same card. The heavyweight title rematch between the then champion Anthony Joshua and the current reigning Alexander Usyk. Let's just get straight to the point. There are a lot of people that are picking Alexander Usyk to win this thing. They're settled in that prediction.
They have been for a while, and I can't say as I blame them. I get it.
Some might have thought that the crisis in Ukraine, Russia's invasion of Usyk's home country, might have affected his psyche, but if anything, it's emboldened him. He's that much more motivated.
If you're picking Usyk to win this fight, I'm not going to argue with you.
But I myself, I'm taking it on faith that Anthony Joshua's going to win this fight. I'm taking it on faith, and I'm playing this one close to the chest. That they've thought long and hard about what they've got to do in that ring tomorrow, and they've got the answer. They've got the answer for Alexander Usyk. We've seen Anthony Joshua in rematch situations, at least one.
At least once, and he's shown that he can make adjustments. He'll have to tomorrow.
What adjustments, you ask? He's got to be more of a bully, use more of his size, use more of his reach, take more chances. He's enlisted the aid of veteran trainer Robert Garcia, and we all know what kind of fighters Robert Garcia trains. Aggressive fighters, come forward fighters.
You know the characteristics of a Robert Garcia fighter.
You know what to expect, and that's what I'm expecting to see from Anthony Joshua tomorrow. Whether or not it's going to work, your guess is as good as mine, though I'm taking it on faith that This version of Anthony Joshua won't overthink it.
Because that's what he was doing the last time.
I expect that by now, they've reviewed the footage from the first fight and figured out Alexander Usyk's head is too hard to hit with a jab, a simple jab. You've got the jab at this guy's torso, you've got the jab at his chest, and step into that jab in order to either bring over a big right hand or get close enough that you can let go of some body shots to take his legs away. It just so happens that Alexander's footwork, his movement, his legs.
It's an area of strength for Alexander Usyk. It allows him to do a lot of things.
He bounces in and out of range, shooting that lead backhand, the lead straight left hand. Alexander Usyk being a southpaw, he's got great timing, but even with that,
The reason he can do that, step in and out of range safely, is because of his legs. So you've got to take those away.
you often hear it said that the straight right hand is a southpaw killer, and with that in mind, a lot of people might be expecting that Anthony Joshua is going to be looking to land several big straight right hands, but that's not what I'm expecting. I'm expecting the left hook.
The left hook up top, the left hook downstairs. I'm expecting that.
What I'm expecting is that Anthony Joshua is going to make a conscious effort to make this a close quarters fight, a fight that's fought in the pocket, mid-range to inside.
Ahead of the weigh-in, there was a lot of talk about what the fighters are going to weigh the night of the fight, that Alexander Usyk had gained a lot of weight. Well, apparently he didn't.
Apparently he weighed in about the same as he did for the first fight, which is why I didn't spend a lot of time on that.
Whether or not it would slow him down, what effect it would have on the fight, I didn't spend a lot of time on that.
Anthony's a little heavier for this fight, about 4 pounds heavier than he was the first time out. Some focus on his conditioning, something about increasing the threshold for lactic acid. In a nutshell, looks like he wants to throw punches in bunches.
And if that's what he wants to do, he's got the right idea.
The conservative approach didn't work. Anthony's going to have to be more prolific.
Force the fight on Alexander Usyk. Try and force him to trade and catch him between the shots.
Try to. I can't say I'm all that confident about this prediction. I can't say with any certainty.
It's not a lock.
But that's why we watch. That's why we tune in, because you never really know until you know, until the fight is over.
I do think we're going to see a more aggressive Anthony Joshua. I do think we're going to see more of a conscious effort to inflict damage.
Maris Briedis was able to give Alexander Usyk a hard night and a hard fight by taking it to him. And I think that by now, the Joshua people, they've reviewed that footage and extracted what bits and pieces they can use, they can employ.
Does the fight end in a knockout?
I do think Anthony Joshua will be looking for one, and because he's looking for one, he'll be busier. But this fight,
I don't know, but I think it's going to go to the cards, and when it does...
just can't fight this feeling that Anthony Joshua is going to win this fight tomorrow night by way of a split decision.
I know a lot of people feel the only way he can win is by way of knockout.
I understand those people, but I'm guessing that he'll be busier this time, busy enough to eke out enough rounds to win on points.